So, welcome back, everybody. We are here in a new episode of our collaboration and Unity Basics course that is in partnership with New Media Manitoba. So, today is our last session for this amazing course. I hope everybody uh, was able to join and follow up with this course on making a 2D game in Unity and using Git for collaboration, so we can keep all of our code in GitHub and share it with our co-workers or our teammates, or even for ourselves to keep a backup and check for our previous versions. All right, so today I just want to run by again in my website in the course section. I added already the two remaining pages, the ones that I promised you guys, and I know some of you were asking for them because those ones were kind of key for you guys to start making your own project. So after I finished the Unity Basics, that's the one that we had like a couple of weeks ago, where we teach you how to connect, how to download Unity, how to create your first repository with Unity and your first project, and get everything set up with using Git Kraken, if it was the case, to get everything rolling. Now I have added the next page, the next part, which is basically whatever all the assets that you will require in order to build the game. So here you will find, hello, you will find here that I added the repository, the GitHub repository that we are creating with the Unity Basics. So if you want to come here, download this project, like clone it, and start it from there, it's good. If you missed some of the previous sessions, you can go ahead and check out the videos. I added here as well the link for the YouTube channel with the entire playlist. So I broke it down basically every episode into different sections and a little description of what we were doing, what we were covering on each section. So if you were following up and maybe you missed something, you can just come here and check what was you looking for. For example, oh, I missed how was the jump. So you can just go to this section of this video and you won't need to go. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, so as I was mentioning, you can come here if you miss anything, and it's broken down into different pieces, so it's easier to come back whenever you get stuck. Aside from that, yeah, you can come here. I will suggest you guys, if you want, you can follow me, my user here, and I will follow you back. Whenever I post more projects, you will be able to check them out. And if you have a project, for example, this game, and you want me to check it out, I will be able to do it. Okay, so aside from the repo, I added here all the assets that we use on this game and the ones that we will be using on this session for you to quickly download. So if you just go ahead and click this little image, you will start downloading the package for the player with all the animations and everything. The configuration here, as I explained, how to change the pixels per unit because of the type of the asset that we are importing. Same for our background, our tiles. Today that we are going to be using this one, the enemies. So we will have two zombie enemies that we also need to make some adjustments. And finally, our user interface sprite sheet, basically. This is the last one that we are going to try to implement if the time allows it. For that one, there's no requirement for doing the pixel per unit. Those are good as they are because they are UI, so no worries. So if you wanna go ahead and make your own game in base of this video and of this course, you can get every single thing that you require and go ahead and do it. As well, I created this last page, which is for basically previous session and this session, where I do a quick explanation on some of the things on coding, and I add here the scripts with some of the highlights on some of the important things. I also added some comments into the code, which we will just check in a moment for you guys, so it's easy to understand what's going on. But here you will see, like, I try to make some explanation of the code that we were using, the game manager and things like that. And once we finish everything, I will be updating the rest of the code here for you guys to check. And I wanted to show you guys how you can, like, this is not what we will accomplish today. We will try to get as much as we can in our session, but I will try to give you all the assets and all the logic that you require to make something like this. Like, you will be able to get to this point with the logic that I will give you. So here we have created this little page. You can check it out. And like, we have a home landing page. We go to the levels. I created just like 3 levels with basic logic, so they are closed, so I cannot play if I haven't beat the first level. And the resume is basically to just resume whatever I left my game. So this is actually kind of saving in this session. So let's go ahead, and if I click number 1, now you can see is way more polished. Now we have a health bar, we have our coins to pick up, we have a nice pause menu where you can pause, and if I try to move or do something, my player is completely stuck. Same as the enemies, everything is stopped. I can hit resume and everything will go back to normal. I can go to my home, or I added just so you can go to your levels. So basically that's what we will cover today. You are able to pick up the coins. Now I changed this one so they die just with 1. We have now like a little box that you can take, like step on, and moving to the next level. And this nice complete, where you will get, like, depending on how many coins you picked up and everything, it will give you a score, your health, how many coins you were able to pick up. You can replay the level, or you can go to the next one or go to home. So if I just restart, I will go there, or maybe I just want to go to the levels. I need to beat it because I didn't save my progress, so I'm just gonna take 2 coins this time. There you go. And I'm going to hit next. So this is another level. I didn't make like any crazy levels right now. It's just because what we were showing right here is the logic of the things that we wanted to show. But essentially, if we go here now, we can see, oh, we have level 1, it was beaten with 2 stars, level 2 with 2 stars, and level 3. Now we can load the last level, which is the most difficult one. You can see here I added like these little plants that are kind of like a little bit weird. It's just like a trap for the player, which if I touch them, I will just kind of like get resetted. It's kind of like I died. So it's a little trap. And I'm just gonna finish the level here. And there you go, I finish it. It's telling me, yeah, you completed the level. I can restart the entire game, or I can just go home to see my scores and everything. That's basically what we are gonna cover. We're gonna try to get as far as we can on this session. Remember, guys, if you have any questions at all, you can just type them on the channel here in the chat, and I will try to answer them right at the moment I just saw them. Okay, so remember, this is the website. I just putting it there, so for you guys, bigger, if you want to go and check it out. All right, so let's go to our Unity project. Okay, so we are here in our Unity project. This is where we left it the last time, right? So we have our walk, our attack, and our jump. This is how it looks right now. We only have 1 level, but our guy right now, it's being able to walk, jump. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, you can attack, you can jump, yep, and you have your checkpoints, if I believe, yeah, and you can respawn. There you go, nice and smooth. And yep, you are respawning. Cool. Perfect. So now let's start adding our enemies, which is a fun part of this game, having our zombies there. So for that we will require the zombie package, the one that I show you guys on the website that you can download. So I'm just gonna I already downloaded. I'm going to create a new folder for the enemies, and I'm going to drop all those files in there. So it comes with two nice folders with the female and male zombies. It's just loading. It comes with quite some animations, so it's just loading some of those sprites. We will have, like, there you go. We have the attack, we have the death animation, idle, walk. Yeah, that's basically it. We won't use walk right now because that will make a whole new thing into our game. But I'm just going to do what on the website says, that I have to take all my assets here, and we're gonna change this to 200. There you go. That's also gonna require some loading because it's processing all of those. There you go. And now we will do the same for the female. 200 and apply. And some loading there. All right. Okay, that is about right. Now, what I want to do is we are going to create our first enemy. So I'm just going to create here an empty game object. We are going to call this enemy controller. We want to place it on position 000. There you go. Nice and centered. And this little guy right here, we are going to add first the script. So let's go and create a script. We will say this is gonna be called enemy controller. There you go. And we will add here our enemy controller script. That's it. Okay, we have that. Now we are going to add inside of it. We did it this way, so we have our controller on top because all of our enemies will behave the same, really, in this case. The only difference is the sprite, basically. So I'm gonna create a child, which is gonna be called sprite. And here I'm going to add the Sprite Renderer, and we can just select whichever we like. This really doesn't matter. It's just so we can see something in the screen. Remember, we need to have a sorting layer. So in this case, I'm going to put it the same on the player, just because it's kind of the same. Like it's up. We want it to be on the same layer as the player, work kind of the same. Okay, that is good. We notice that the enemy right there, it's looking to the other side, right? Most of the times our game is going from left to right, so we can just flip that guy, and that's how it's gonna look. Beautiful. Okay, and now we are going to require here an animator, just to control the animations of our player. So we are gonna create here in the controllers animator controller, if I can see it here, animator controller, and we will call it male enemy. Okay, let's put it in there. There you go. and we will call here, and while we are selecting it, we are able to select create animations, and here let's say enemies. We will do first idle, and for the idle we know we need the male. Let's go down here and select our idle animation. This goes over here, idle, right? It's just loading there. Okay, it's pretty fast right now. It always imports it at 60 frames per second, but we can change that. Like, it looks like it's pretty tired. We don't really want that. We can do like 10. That's much better. Like, it looks like it's really in idle. Okay, we need to create another clip, which is going to be called, oh, I'm going to call it idle. Let's call it actually male attack, so we can have a differentiation between the male and the female. I'm gonna change the name of the other one just in a second. And here we are going to adjust this, and probably for this one we wanted to have it to do it like pretty slow, because if not it's gonna be crazy. Look at that. It's because there's way less samples, so I'm gonna go for 5 probably. There you go. It looks a little bit slow. Let's go for a 7. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, let's change this quickly to male idle, just so we have it the right way. And we need last animation, which is male dead. And we take just the male dead animation here until here. Oh, it just I click it instead of dragging. Okay, and this one can go 10 as well. Let's just see it. Oh, there you go. The guy dies. Perfect. Okay, now that we have that, we can go and kind of like hook it up our nice guy here. So we have our idle. We will probably require this here and this in here. Okay, perfect. It's always in idle, like that's the first state. If you guys have ever wondered how to change the first one, you can just right click and set as default state, and that will be the first one to start. But we want the idle to be the first one, right? So that is good. In terms of variables, we require one here that is a boolean, and it's gonna be attack. Why is a boolean instead of a trigger? It's because our enemy, every time that the player is in range, is gonna be just constantly attacking. So we don't want it to be a trigger that we have to call every single time. We will just make it so if the player is in range, start attacking. Once the player leaves the area, stop attacking. And for the death, we can just use a trigger. We can go from any state to death, and we will say, if we call this, and we want it to happen like instantaneously, the guy will just die right away. Instead of finishing an attack or something, we just want it to die. And here we will say that the guy will start attacking right away as well, whenever the attack is true, or go back to idle whenever the attack is false. And we can finish the attack here, like we want the guy to keep attacking. Okay, now that we have like a little guy there that's dead, we have our animation, we have what we need for our little guy. Let's go first and start creating our script for the enemy. Okay, so I have here our Visual Studio with the code that we are gonna create. So we can go here, oh sorry, and open in our scripts enemy controller. There you go. It's perfect. And for our enemy controller, we require a couple of things. So as always, now I'm gonna start just adding a little bit more organized. So we can add a region called variables, and then close that region. What does this does basically is just for organization. So whatever code I put in here, then I can collapse it into this nice like tag. And I don't like that's for like bigger codes, of course, but just to keep it consistent, I will do that with all of our code. Okay, so let's start with our game object components, right? So on this case, we will be looking into an animator. Don't get it mistaken, animator, not animation. And we will call it anim as always. We will also use a sprite renderer, which in theory, let me just think about it. We will probably won't use it for the sake of this tutorial. Yeah, we don't really require it. Okay, and then we are going to say variables that control our enemy. So things like the public int health, we will say our guy will start with 1. That's the normal health that it was gonna have. And public bool that wish, it will be useful later on, but we will just use it doesn't require to be public right now. Like the player doesn't really care about it if it's dead or not. Okay, and another thing that we want to like keep track of, it's other, let's say transform player. We want to keep a variable of our player all the time, like every time that the enemy sees the player, basically. Okay, so let's assign our animator. Anim is going to be get component animator. And that's it, basically. And then in our update, we have to say if the enemy is dead or the player it's null. So basically, whenever the enemy is dead or the player is not around, what we want to do is just return. So we don't want to do anything if any of those variables are true, because basically our enemy will be dead. We don't want it to do anything at all. Now, what we need to do is to track that every time that our enemy sees like the player is nearby, we want to flip the sprite basically to look at the player, because we don't want it to be attacking the left when the player is on the right, or the other way around. We want our guy to flip, but there's something important to notice here, and is that we don't want to flip our sprite. And why is that? I remember we talked about it last time. If you see, the center of the zombie is not the center of the image. Like my zombie is a little bit moved to one of the sides. So when I flipped it, you see that the fits are completely in a different position. So we don't want to change that. We want just to change the entire object like this. In that way, everything will be moved correctly. Okay, so let's go back to our code. What we will say here is if the player right? We want to check basically where our player is. Player dot position in the x-axis is less than our transform dot position dot x. So basically, if our x position is greater than the player's, right, we want to have our zombie looking as it is right now. So we will say transform dot local scale, right? Local scale, it's gonna be equal to new vector 3 1 1 1. We could have changed this to make it easier, but we're gonna just do it like that. And then we will say, if not, we are just gonna flip our guy here. That's about right, okay? But now, how do we track if our player is actually in like close? Well, there's a pretty easy way, and it's using our famous Ontriggerenter, right? Remember to use the 2D, not the Ontriggerenter without the 2D, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so what we want to do is, if our guy is dead, right, return. We don't want to do anything if our guy is dead. We don't want to waste CPU and memory trying to do things that we don't care. And then we will say collisions dot compare tag. If it's equal to player, it's because the player is inside, and we will say that player, it's gonna be equal to collisions dot transform, right? And that's pretty much it. And then we need to do the same for on trigger exit, and we will copy basically the same, but we will say, okay, if the player just left, then we don't want to keep the reference of the player. Just with that, our little enemy should be able to basically follow our player. So let's give it a try. We have here, we need, of course, in our enemy controller to add a little circle collider, yeah, and make it way bigger, right, like about there. So it's like whenever the player is around that area, the guy will know it, and it needs to be triggered. There you go. And let's position our guy in a better spot. Before, yeah, let's position it somewhere around here. That's about right, right? There you go. Okay, good. That's our enemy. And let's move our player. Okay, so there it is. And if I move to the other side, he keeps following me, right? That's sweet. Cool. Okay, there you go. Okay, we are looking at that little like leash that the player is going through the enemy. That's because they are on the same layer. So we could just add, maybe we could even just like move it to the back, right? That way, if the player goes through it, it will just go over it. There you go. But the zombie is still like looking at him. That's about right. It works. You won't notice until you go through. Perfect. Now we need to make our little guy attack. So what we want to do with the attack, it's basically here in our anim, we will set our variable, right? We just have to basically set it to attack. But let's make it a little bit more, a little bit nicer. Well, not really. Okay, so we will say name dot set bool attack, and then we can say this is true, and down here this is false. So now every time that our player is inside of that little space, that circle collider, our guy is gonna start attacking. But this is just an animation. This is not actually doing anything at all. Like, it's not killing the player or anything. So we can just add it here right away. Maybe a nice variable. So we can change actually this for player controller, right? We will just have to update this to transform and change here. Sorry. Here we just have to say dot get component player controller. I just have to then double check that it's actually in that same object. Okay, so we have our player, right? What we want to do is just basically attack. So we need another variable, float. Let's make it public float damage. We will say it's just doing 1 of damage. We don't want to do more than 1. Let's actually make it in, oh yeah, let's make it float. And now that we have our player, if it's attacking, we are going to do something different. Here we have the variables that control our player. Another one will be a bool. So we can even move this here because this is more related. And this is going to be attack, right? Oh, sorry. And it's equal to false. Perfect. Okay. And you know what? Now I'm gonna show you guys a way nicer way of doing it. For that, we can just keep it exactly as it was. Let's leave it how it was. It's gonna be nicer. I was just trying to do it in a quicker way, but it really doesn't make any sense if it's not that polished. So it might take a little bit longer, but we're gonna do it properly. So let's go back to our Unity here, and we are going to make a new script called enemy attack. Yeah, and that little guy is gonna be attached here, enemy attack, and I will explain why later. Enemy attack is here, and we will require just a circle collider, probably. Yeah, it will do. So we're gonna add here circle collider as well. This one will be way smaller, even smaller than that. There you go, that's about right. Oh, sorry. And I want to move the position of this guy around here. Basically what I'm doing with this is this is the area that the zombie does damage. So if the player is inside there, it's gonna be damaged by this little guy. And we can just check. Basically, yeah, it's almost like the scratch goes up to that point. We could make it a little bit more like precise if we move this closer, but then the player gets too much advantage because if it's not that close to the zombie, he doesn't get hit. So I'm just gonna leave it there. It's gonna be trigger. We require that way. And aside from that, now I'm gonna show you guys something very nice. So let's save that, and let's go back into our code, and let's check it out. How does it work? Okay, so in our little code here, what we will do is we need to open the enemy attack. We don't really require much of this. Yeah, we can just get rid of it. And we will create our nice region variables and region. Here we need the player controller. Player. Right? And we will add the public int damage, and it's gonna be 1 for now. And that's pretty much it. Now we will add a new function, public void damage target. We can call it like that, right? And what we are going to do is, if the player is different than null, so there's a player in that area, we are going to attack the, or like damage the player, because I believe in our player controller we don't have a receive damage or anything like that yet. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna do this, but we require also to do basically something pretty similar to this guy. Okay, let's copy that, paste it here. So if Ontriggerenters, we are going to set our player get component player controller, and we don't need this, and this one will be just like that. Perfect. All right, so we have this. Now what we want to do is, if we go back to our code here, to our game, we need a way to call that function whenever we want the enemy to attack. So how do we do this? Well, Unity has a very nice functionality for the animations that allows us to basically call a script in a certain given point of an animation, and those are called like these events in our animations. So we will go into our attack. We can move the attack here. So we see that we want the enemy to inflict damage only here, right? Like basically between these two spots, basically it will be here, right? So we can add an event right there, and we can call the damage target. That easy. So whenever the animation hits this point, it will call it. Why don't do it like in a different way, like just with the trigger? What will happen if I just call the damage target every time the player is inside? It will mean that every time that the player is in, it will be constantly receiving damage, even though that the enemy is here or has an attack, or it has finished the attack, it's been giving damage to the player. And we don't really want that, right? That's not how we want to have our player. Okay, so aside from that, I believe our enemy is pretty much ready to get to attack the enemy is too ready to attack the player. We just have to now work on the player health, right? So to do that, we will go back here into our nice Visual Studio, and we will start creating now in the player controller the health of the player. Okay, so we have our variables, as you can see here. there you go. The full thing for variables was just collapsed. Nice. We have the components, we have the variables that controls our player, speed, blah, blah, blah. That's not what we are looking for. This is to recognize, and we don't really have right now any type of variable like that. So we can create it just here. So these are variables or state variables. That's actually pretty close enough. So let's call that there. So we have our this one, and we're gonna call public float max health. We will say our guy has 10 of life at the beginning. We can easily change that. That's why I'm making it public, so it's easy to change it. And then this one doesn't require to be public. It's just float health. There you go. Now that we have that, we can go into our functions, and we are going to create. So these ones are all the update methods. Here's attack, jump, and then we like our receive functions, right? And we will say public void receive damage, and we are going to receive an int damage amount, right? And what we're going to do here is just basically set our health. It's going to be equal. So here what we could do is just say health minus the damage amount, right? That will do. We could have just said minus and minus equal damage amount. Damage amount. Oop. And like that, right? Now that should work. There you go. That's another way to do it. But because I'm gonna show you guys, we could receive a lot of damage from the enemy, and we wanna just make sure that our health remains always between like the numbers that we want, so we can display it correctly. So we are going to use a nice function from Unity, madf.clamp, which basically is going to clamp the value into a minimum and maximum values. So we do the subtraction, and then we say we wanted to keep it in between 0 and max health. That way we make sure that our health is always in the right spot. Okay, and let's make it public so we can see our health right now, because we don't have any other way. And in our enemy, we can say player dot receive damage and damage. That's how much we want to make. Cool. Okay. Let's go back to Unity and test that quickly. Let me check. Player controller. We have the player. Blah blah blah. We have 10. We have 0 of life at the beginning, and we have our little guy here with his scripts. Perfect. So let's go to the game. Boom. Our guy's there. Now let's jump. And let's check first our player health. So, oh, remember, that's something we didn't do. We have to just quickly do it in our code. We missed it. Is in our player controller on the start function, we have to say, let's quickly say here, health is equal to max health. We want to start at max health all the time, right? Okay, so now that we have that, we can hit play. We will see that our player will gain 10 of health at the beginning. There you go, I have 10. I'm just gonna jump here. Okay, so once I start getting inside, the guy is gonna attack. Oh, there you go. I have an error here. There is no animator. Oh, yeah, there's just one quick error that we have to fix. So remember, our player, our enemy, actually, has it's a game object which his child is the one that has the animator. So we need to say get component in children animator. Otherwise, it's not gonna be able to find it. That was basically the problem there. Okay, so let's go back again to our player to see the live. Hit play. No errors now. Cool. We're gonna jump here. And as soon as I get inside of the collider, first I just want to show, yeah, the guy is attacking. Boom. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Basically it's attacking. Okay, now we check that the guy is not coming back to idle. That's probably because we miss here in the enemy controller. Yeah, true, and here it should be false. Easy fix. Okay, so it's working. Our enemy is attacking our player. He's receiving damage, he's getting his life to 0, basically, right? Now we want to make the things even, right? We want to be able to attack the enemy and be able to kill it, right? So for that, basically, we are going to make something pretty much similar. We need to, let's check first the animation of the player. So if we go to the player, it's loading. There you go. And if we check animations and the attack, it's a little bit slow, but it's probably all right. Like, it's probably fine. So what I'm going to do here is we don't really need to do the entire like trigger, probably. Or yes, we do. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, let's quickly do it so it's a little bit more polished. So we know here in this jump basically is where we wanna call our script, right? So we're just gonna call this, but we need on our player, because right now we just have the box collider, right? We will require to add like an attack area or something like that. So we can do basically similar to what we do with the enemy. So we can create a new child object, and this could be called attack area. And I'm gonna add a circle collider, and I'm going to move this guy over here. I just wanna double check that the player, when we rotate the player, we are rotating, yeah. Okay, so we have our attack area that right there. Let's just check. It's about the place where the sword hits, somewhere around here. It's trigger, right? That's about right. And we want to just we can create a new script called, let's call it attack manager. That can work for other things in the future. Right now it's just gonna check for the enemy, basically attack manager here, and let's go to our code and open that little guy. There you go. Okay. We will require player controller player, and we have access to this guy. So player is gonna be equal to get component in parent player controller. Done. And we don't need this. We will just say Ontriggerenter to D if collision dot compare tag it's equal to enemy. We will say that player. Oh, we need to create that variable. Let's go here, and I'm going to create other variables. We will say hide in the inspector. We don't require it to be shown. Public enemy controller enemy. We have it like that, and then here we will say player dot enemy is going to be equal to collision dot get component enemy controller. Okay. Actually, I want to make yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. Sounds good. Enemy controller has an trigger exit and trigger enter. Yeah, that's fine. No. Yeah, because our enemy already has a collider, I don't want to be mixed with that collider for our attack manager. So I'm going to say get component in parent, and I will show you guys why. But basically like this, and then we will say on trigger exit, and same thing, but we will just say here that this is equal to no. Sounds amazing, right? Okay, let's go back to our game. For enemy, what I was telling you guys is that he has already like too many colliders, and we don't want our player to be confused and basically attack one of those colliders. So to make it a little bit better, and also, for example, in a different type of game, we can make, like if we had a different enemy that it was like fully armored or something like that, and you can only hit it on the head, that's why this little guy is gonna help us. So damageable area, and we're going to create a box collider because that's how it looks, this guy. Let's make it, so basically here's what I was telling you guys. We could have make it just the head, or we can make it the entire body. Or in this case, we want the player to be able to hit basically the entire zombie and make it easy to hit that guy, right? And an attacker, yeah, there you go. So an attack area is gonna look for this guy, which is looking for an enemy tag, which we don't have. So let's go ahead and create tag enemy, right, and assign it to our guy. All right, so let's go quickly back into our code. Yes, we're looking for that, and we have this. So we are assigning our basically our guy here. So we are assigning the attack thing. Now that we are assigning the enemy, once it's inside, on the player controller, we can go and say in the attack, right? The attack is gonna set the animation, this attack. Now we need to just create another one. Let's move this up. we will say public void give damage, right? Give damage. Basically, what we're doing there is creating something similar to the attack of the enemy, but this time it's give damage or deal damage. That could be better. And in this case, we could have made a variable for how much damage is making, right? But in this case, we can just say int damage. So let it control by the animation itself. And we'll say if enemy it's different than null, and we will say damage enemy, right? So we have to basically do the same process in our enemy controller. So in our enemy controller, we want to have a public void receive damage and int damage amount. In this case, we can just say, I don't remember if our player has health or enemy. Yeah, it has health 1. We will say health minus equal to damage amount. Then we check if health it's equal or less than 0. Sorry, less or equal than 0. It means our guy just died, right? So dead is equal to true. So we just killed it. And also we can just go ahead here and call our nice function saying an im.set trigger dead. And just to make it consistent, we can say if dead return, right? Okay, and let's go back to our player controller. Yep, let's go back to our player controller, and here we will say enemy dot receive damage. Awesome. Okay, let's go back here. So we have our damageable area, our little guys here, and we have our attack. Now, what we need to do is in our player, in the attack, go into our little event and set the deal damage, and we will say is gonna deal 1 of damage. Okay, now just let's go ahead and give it a try. So I'm going to walk here and I'm going to attack this guy. Oh, he just died. Oh, and we just found another kind of bug, and it's pretty easy to fix. If we go to our enemy animations, our dead animation should not be looping. So that way, when it reaches that animation, the end is just gonna stay there. So the guy will remain dead, basically. So killed, what's that? There you go. And there, it's dead. Perfect. So we have our attack with like we have our enemy with the entire system. So let's go ahead and quickly just commit our changes, right? Okay, so we have imported first our sprites. Add enemy sprite packages. Includes male and female, idle, attack, dead, and walking animations. Commit that. Then we can say that we created our enemy controller, attack controller, attack, and or let's do first just add enemy controller script includes look at player and start an attack. Look at player, attack, and the stance state. Okay, and before I just do that, I'm just gonna quickly take this little guy and let's put it here. Just dun. We have everything we require, and in our prefabs, let's put our little guy there. Save that, save the project, and let's go back here. We will say add enemy attack controller, and we have in our prefabs enemy controller prefab enemy, sorry, this is male enemy prefab, male enemy prefab. Save that guy. We need all of this. Enemy male enemy animator and animations. Oh, I forgot this meta file for enemy animations folder. Then we can add our attack manager updated player with, let's also apply the changes, apply these guys and add that prefab update, sorry, player with attack manager update scene with male enemy and attack and combat system. And lastly, we have ours add enemy tag. Perfect. So just we keep everything there, and if you guys want to pull it, it's gonna be up there. Awesome. Okay, so now that we have that here, let's go ahead and display our little health, right? We want to show our player health. So for that, we are gonna start using something that we haven't used in the at the beginning of this game, and it's called the UI elements, the canvas. We can put this a little bit here. I like to have it there. Okay, so the canvas is the place where you add things to display like the UI basically. So whenever you think about canvas, is all the UI that you have. For this canvas, you have some options. So how is basically the canvas render or something like that? There are three options. A screen space overlay, so basically it's gonna be always on the screen space, regardless of what's being rendered basically. Another way is to just put it on top of the camera or in the world space. So this is for having like UI elements inside here that doesn't move with the camera. Basically, they just stay in the game. For this case, we want to use the camera one, and it's gonna ask us for which render camera, and we are gonna use the main camera. So that will change it a little bit. Now it's like, okay, this is what you are looking. Basically, this is how the game is rendered, right? So we are gonna have like everything, single thing that we have in our canvas, it's gonna be rendered on top of that camera. There's some ways to how to scale that canvas. Constant pixels is gonna be like a factor. It's not that good for what we will like on this one. So there's a nice one, which is this one, scale with the screen size. So depending on the size of the screen, because remember our size will change drastically depending on which type of game or like which device is being used. So it's different if I'm playing in a standalone like 1024 than if I'm using a 1610 or like different aspect ratios or resolutions. So because I have that, I want to just reference resolution. We can use whichever you like here, depending on for what is targeted. And then you can say I want to match the width or the height, or you can try to match like kind of in the middle. I like this one. It's for the most part it's pretty reliable to keep things where you want. So now we can see here is our canvas, pretty nice there. This is our camera, this is our canvas, and now we can start adding some UI elements there. Okay, so we are going to add first of all an image. So here our image was added here, right? Our nice image was added there, and here we have our rect transform, and this rect transform will help us to positionate those elements in our canvas basically. So the parent is my canvas, and I can set where I want my pivot point and the position of that guy. In this case, I just want to keep the pivot on the center, but move my guy up there, right? So my guy is always gonna be up there, and I can move, yeah, pivot and position over there. So here is my image. Okay, so also I need to, in the sorting layer, put it on front, so it's always on front. We could even maybe add UI and keep everything that is UI in the UI, so it's easier. All right, so we have now our little guy here, our little image there. But before we add something in there, we will need to import our nice packages. So let's go ahead and add our packages from the same, like from the website that I told you guys, from my website. You will look into something. Let me see if I actually, I think I didn't download those. So let's just give it a look here. So we have the user interface sprites. There you go. Boom, it's downloaded. Let's just export those, extract them. We can extract them, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. Here they are. Okay. So now that we have those, let's go back into Unity and drag and drop all those PNGs. This actually is a pretty nice example for you guys. I was telling you last time that not all of the sprites come split as the player and the enemy came, like one sprite for each like section of the animations. These ones that you can see here, it comes with the whole package of the sprites and things. So you can't use this as it is. Like I won't be able, like if I drop this here, if I can, it's just gonna be like the entire mess. And that's not what I want, right? So what I need to do is go ahead here and say, instead of having a single sprite mode, I'm gonna say multiple. I have to apply those changes, and after that I can go and say sprite editor, and I can see here all the sprites that they provide in that package. Then I could manually go and like cut what I need, or I can use this slice tool and the automatic slice and tell Unity to go ahead and slice it as better as he like as good as he can. When the sprite sheets are well done, like this one, it's automatically done. Like you can see, everything was well split into what I needed. Sometimes it is not, because the spreadsheet is not like the background maybe is not fully transparent or something like that. So it's a little bit annoying. But for the most part, these ones will work with the automatic slice, unless you need something specific. Then you hit apply. That's going to take a little bit of time because it's going to create basically one sprite for each of those. I could go ahead and rename them if I want. For this time, I'm just going to leave them like that. Okay, so now that we have that, we can go ahead and try to mimic something like this, right? So here it is, the one that I need. I'm going to drag and drop this, and we have our nice health. It looks terrible, right? It's because it's using the default size and everything here, but it's pretty easy to fix. Preserve aspect ratio, basically. So if I do that, now it's always gonna stay in that way. Now that I have it here, remember to scale it or whatever, you need to use this tool. So we wanna make it a little bit bigger, even something like this, and it doesn't need to be that big. There you go. And oops, sorry. And we can move it a little bit down so it's not like completely on the corner. And these little anchors, they are pretty nice, a little bit annoying to use, but they will let Unity know where it's supposed to be placed, like where's the anchors of your object. So if you try to match it as better as you can, that's ideal. Okay, so we have our nice bar, and now that we have that, we can save this, and we will call it health bar health. Just call it health. This actually is not going to do anything. It's just a play, like the place where the bar will go, and then we can have our little bar. So we can add another guy here. We can put it inside, and we will just use the option of Shift Alt and then this corner. So it's gonna create the same, like basically is covering the entire area. And I'm going to call it health or just bar, right? And we can change it for this, and also of course we will have to just adjust it so it looks proper. So let's put it on over here and over here, and our nice anchors should go here and here. There you go. So now, how do we make this guy to go down, basically, like to feel nice and smooth? Well, Unity also has a nice thing here, and it's the image type. We can call this, that is a fill one, and we want to make it horizontal from left to right, and basically we can just use this variable to fill our life. So from 0 to 1. Great, right? That's pretty simple. So now we just have to make sure that we are essentially setting up that correctly. Okay. So how do we wanna set that up? You will ask, right? In our little player controller, um, sorry, I think I didn't swap. Yeah, here you go. In our player controller, right now we can do it just like that, so we move a little bit faster. The ideal will be to have a different controller that controls the health, like the health display, because that's not a task for the player controller itself. Like this is not for the player controller. This is not a duty of the player controller to change or to display that thing, right? So why don't we just do that? Like we have it here. Yeah, let's make it like nicer. So we have our health. So we are keeping track of our health. So let's create quickly a new script, which is gonna be called health display. Let's attach it to our bar. Boom, here. And let's open that code. And here we are gonna say image. The image is not gonna be recognized right away. It's because we need to like use a library called Unity Engine UI. It's gonna add it for us, and then we will say bar image. Then we can say bar image, it's equal to get component image. Perfect. And in the update, we can just here show bar image dot fill amount is gonna be equal to, we require the player. So remember we created a game manager that has the player here, right? Well, we are gonna do something very nice. This is, guys, something that will help you a lot in your games and in your programming. It's something so good, and I'm gonna share it right now. We are going to use here something called public static game manager, and we're gonna call it instance, right? So basically I'm creating a variable that is a static variable of a game manager, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the awake, and I'm going to say instance is going to be equal to this. So everybody will have access to this guy. Now, because I don't, yeah, I can keep this like that, it's fine. Now on the health display, you will see why it's so nice. I don't need any references to the game manager. I can just quickly say health game manager dot instance dot player dot health divided by the same dot max health, right? That will give me basically the percentage, and this. Perfect. All right, so we have it like this. We have our game manager. Let's go back to Unity. Let's check that we have our game manager in the game. Here it is. Let's put it on top because this guy is second most important. Camera is gonna be always pretty important. Okay. One quick thing we have to do in our code is make sure that our game manager is also setting the player in the awake, because sometimes we will use that player in some of the start methods and we want it to be already set. Okay. Let's see if everything was made correctly. We have our health here. Oh, our enemy, we left it there, up there. Poor guy. We're just gonna put it down here. Cool. Save. And he didn't fall because he doesn't have a rigid body. We don't really require a rigid body at this point, so there's no point on putting it there. So I'm gonna start receiving damage. Oh, there you go. Our nice health bar is going down. That's perfect, right? Okay, so now I'm dead. Nothing is happening. It doesn't really matter. We are not tracking death stats. Okay, let's save that. So let's go ahead and put everything into our Git. So we first added our sprites. Add UI sprite package. Optimize it game manager to use a static variable. And then add health displayer. Add canvas with health bar. And the tag manager, this was for the new sorting layer for UI elements. Then save, push. Awesome. Okay, so now that we have that there, let's go and try to make our nice pause menu. Okay, so for that we will do the same here. We will create another object called pause menu, and we can put this little guy basically in the corner right up there, and we can add an image. And here let's look for a nice, oh, we need to, same thing, go here, multiple, apply, go into the sprite editor, automatic slice, so we get all of our buttons. There you go. Apply. It's gonna create every single sprite. It's loading. Nice. And we can close this. Now that we have that, let's look for our gear. That looks like the main, the pause, or sorry, yeah, we can use just a pause menu. So let's use this one. It looks pretty nice, right? Pause menu, pause. There you go. That looks beautiful. Let's just preserve aspect and let's move it. Actually, let's put the pivot point here. Yep, there you go. This one also should have the pivot point in the center. Better. Okay, and let's move this guy just a bit down and a bit here. And we could even make it a little bit smaller. So it needs to be that huge, but it's fine. Okay. And actually, for this guy, I'm going to do something different. We already used image, so I want to show you guys another UI element, which is a button. So Unity decided to add these plugin called Text Mesh Pro. That was a plugin that it was before available on the asset store as a like an option. It was so good that it was added into Unity as that you can basically, if I click this, it's gonna ask me to import that package. So for this case, there's not much sense to use it. We can just use a regular button, and I want to use exactly the same here, base value. There you go. And for the image, we will use that same sprite. And we don't need this anymore. Delete. Call it pause menu. Preserve the aspect ratio. We don't need any text, so buttons will always come with that text under it, but we don't require it. Okay, so now that we have our button there, the buttons comes with a very handy event system here, and I can just drag and drop basically a function to make something happen whenever it is clicked. So on clicked, something will happen. So let's go into our code, and in our game manager, we will create a public void pause game. Right? So if we want to pause our game, we are going to say, we actually need here to say bool pause. First of all, we want to have public. Oh, we don't need to have this one anymore. Right, inspector. Public game object could be pause button, right? And we will say here pause button dot set active is equal to the opposite of pause. So if it's paused, then we want to remove that button. And as well, we are going to use something called time dot times scale. It's equal to, and here we need to just check if we want to pause the game, right? Basically, this is I didn't show it to you guys. What I'm gonna do is I could just go here and say pause. If it's pause, then time scale is equal to 0, else is, sorry, it's equal to 1, right? And this will basically change my time scale of the game from 0 to 1 in the pause. But I want to show you guys, just in case you ever find this in some code and you were wondering like what is going on here. This is just type of coding. You need to have the correct assembly working on your machine, and Unity supports it, so we can just say pause. Tell me what it comes on the pause. So is it false or is it true? So the first thing that I put is the result for the true, which is basically this, and then I put this nice thing here, and I will say, oh sorry, I don't even need the equal. I can just say 0 or 1. So basically this line replaces what we had here before. I'm just gonna leave it so you guys have two options, but I'm just gonna comment this out. Also, yeah, if you didn't guys know how to comment out, 2 slashes or a slash and an asterisk to start and to finish what you want to comment out will do as well. alternative way of doing the same as the following script line. Okay, so we are stopping our time scale. This will pause basically, yeah, the time how it goes in our game, but the input will still happen, and we don't want that. We don't want the user to be able to input anything. So we are gonna call here, we're gonna create in other variables, hide inspector, oops, public bool game pause is equal to false, right? And if our game is paused, we will say if game paused, then return. And since we are calling our update controller or update animator from the update method, they won't be called. The jump, I believe, was also called, yeah, it's called from the update controls. Same for the attack, you see there. So those won't be called, and the deal damage and the other ones will be called from different methods. So basically, just by doing that, and here setting as well for player dot game pause equal to pause, we will be able to pause our game. The other thing we will require is public game object pause menu. Right, and we want to pause menu dot set active equal to pause. So if the game is paused, then we will display our guide there. Okay, so let's go back to Unity and let's create that pause menu. So that one will go here, another game object here. It's called pause menu. Yeah, actually this one on top is called pause button. On our pause menu, we will add an image, or no, for this one I want to add just pause menu there, and it's going to be right there in the center. So we want it to be center done, and then just make it a little bit bigger. We want our pause menu to be somewhat around this size, right? That's pretty good. Yeah, I believe that's good enough. Okay, so inside of it, it's important to have it inside so it's easier for us with the UI to control our objects. If it's not, it's gonna be a pain. Trust me. So we are going to make this full size, and we are going to assign our pause screen, which is basically this, but without all those buttons. Here, preserve aspect. So, okay, look. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, and smaller here. Perfect. So we have it there. Amazing. And this guy, it's just working fine. All right. On our game manager, we need to assign our button and our pause menu. Cool. And let's start it. Oh, we don't really need. We can do it on our code. So let's go back to the code. On start, on the game manager, we will say pause button, sorry, pause button dot set active true, pause menu dot set active false. That's perfect. Let's go back to our game. We already assigned those. Yes. So let's hit play. Boom. There you go. That's our player there. If we click, so if you can see the player here is in the idle. If I click, oh sorry, I didn't hook up the button. Also another thing that I want to change quickly, it's here in project settings, in the input, the jump, we set it for a space. I don't really like that. I will prefer to use W. Let me just check. Yeah, W for jumping, and for the fire one, which is attack, I'm gonna remove this guy. Left control. I'm just gonna make it space and remove the mouse click because it's a little bit annoying because we have UI elements. So that's a quick fix. And that's why it's pretty nice and handy to have it on the input axis. I just had to change which is the input that I want. I don't have to go into my code. And now let's go into our button and add an event from our, so what I do is, yeah, let's just explain this a little bit better. So on click, I need to click here plus, then I have to drag the object that has the script that I want to use, and then it will show me all the functions from that object. And here I can say pause game, and I have to actually, yeah, this is not the best way. Let me just show you in code. We can just swap that quickly. We can say here bool pause is equal to false, right? So on a start, pause is equal to false, just in case. So pause game doesn't really need to get this. Oh, actually, yeah, you know what? Sorry, I just don't know what happened there. Yeah, that was fine. How we had it was fine. So here we are going to say that this button is pausing the game. Boom, hit save, and we are gonna hit play. Okay, so we have our guy here. It's on idle. We hit stop. There you go. No more button. Now we have this little guy here, and we have our player there. That's perfect, right? Okay, now we have to go here and hit create. Let's call this background. Right. Let's create here a button. And this button, actually, for this one, oh yeah, let's just use it like this. So on the game that I have on my website, you will notice that the text is a little bit nicer, kind of a little bit more polished. Like, it's still terrible, but it's better than this font. It's because I use the Text Mesh Pro plugin that will give you a little bit more of control to add like the text on it. But for this case, we're running a little bit behind of time. I'm just gonna use the regular buttons. If you want, you can still like change the font. You can just import the font and change it from here. So you can still do some changes, change the color or whatever you want to display here. We are just gonna leave it like this, resume. And I'm going to use this speaker to use a color right here. Boom. And this guy is gonna be using this one, preserve aspect. Perfect. And now we just want to make that bigger. There you go. Done. Let's put it here. Oh, sorry, not the pivot, the position. It's gonna go up. And this guy, we just have to move it down here. Just because you saw that that worked, let's add our text for title. We just wanted to have it middle, and let's go ahead and pick, if we can, that green. That's good enough. Let's make it bold so it looks a little bit nicer. Pause, and then let's put it on top there. Just move it a little bit down. That's perfect. We could even do a best fit. It's a little bit too big. We can just resize it a little bit. Let's put it again up there and just move it a little bit down. Okay, and we have our button here that says resume with the text as fit as well. And then just to make it a tiny little bit smaller. There you go. Around here. Good. Let's make it, yeah, a little bit bigger. Sorry. A little bit bigger. That's perfect. Yeah, center. Just wanted to align it to the center. Good. And this is gonna be resume. We don't really care about the other one. And this guy is going to have a function. Oh, sorry. From the game manager. And it's gonna be game manager. Pause game, and it's gonna unpause basically. There you go. There we have it there. We're gonna hit play. Boom. So now if I hit here and if I hit here, there you go. And here I cannot move my player. It doesn't matter if I do anything, and I can just resume. Awesome. We have our pause menu. Okay, so what else we are missing? Well, quite a bit of things. Let's quickly add something similar to this guy. For, let's do copy and paste. Control D is an easy duplicate shortcut that I just used there. And I'm gonna call this guy coins. And then here is just points. And we don't need this or this. We just need text, and just so we know what we are looking for, we can say best fit here and here. There you go. That it's about right. Okay. And or actually we will probably want it like here. Yeah, that looks a little bit nicer. We just need to move it a little bit here. And the coins, we are just gonna swap that guy with like this one basically, but the one here. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, that was the one. Here, and let's move this guy a little bit down. There, preserve aspect. Of course, this is not going to look the same because, oh, sorry. Okay. We can. Oh yeah, I know what is that. Why is that happening? It's the way the asset comes. So we need to just adjust this over here. And we can make this guy a little bit smaller. There you go. Perfect. We have our coin. And we just want to create a quick script here called point display and attach it here. Point display. Save, and we want to create another script quickly that is going to be called coin controller. And for that, in the meantime, I don't need this canvas to be bothering around basically. I'm just gonna create an empty game object. It's gonna be called coin. We are gonna do a sprite renderer. Let's go and look for our nice coins. There you go. We have to put it on sorting layer. Let's put it on back. It's good. That's it, our guy. Perfect. And let's just put it right here. Then we can just make this way smaller. This one doesn't even need to be anything. Okay. And then we are going to add our coin controller. And we need circle collider that is trigger. You might guess where I'm going. So let's open that guy. Here, what we will do is just Ontriggerenter. We will say game manager. Let's add here the game manager. Pause menu. Public void add points. And we are going to have here hide on inspector public. Let's call it int points, and we start at 0. And we basically just want to do points plus plus. This is basically just increasing our points by 1. And what we want to do is in our coins just say game manager dot instance dot add points. And I wanted to do the coins because there's this function that is pretty useful on Unity as well. And is what I'm gonna do is, collisions. If collisions dot compare tag, if the player is the one that picks it up, just want to make sure. So yeah, I was telling you guys, I decided to go with the coins because there's a nice function that we are gonna use right now, and is for this kind of like collectibles. So I'm setting the value on the game manager, but now I need to just say destroy the game object. If I use game object with the capital G, is kind of like the variable. If I use it with the lowercase g, is the actual game object of this component. So I hit it like this, and that should be enough for us to get that going. But now we didn't add the point display. So let's open that code, that script. And what we will do here is we need public, sorry, not public. This is just text. Same thing is gonna ask us to quickly add it. So using Unity UI, text, point text, and then we say point text is equal to get component text, and then what we will do is on the update we will say point text dot text, it's gonna be equal to plus game manager dot instance dot points. Okay, so I'm setting, so this is the variable for the text. I have to get it using the text from the UI library. Then I have to set the text of that component, and because this is a string, I can just say put this int plus this empty string, and it will convert it into a string. All right, so let's go back to Unity. And we don't need to actually set anything up. We just have to turn on the UI, hit save, and hit play. And there you go. Boop, our player just falls. Let's check our, there is working, and whoop, there you go. Our nice pickable, and you can see now my thing there is nice and working. Okay, now we have 4 minutes before the end of our session, so I'm gonna just quickly go ahead and show you guys one extra button here on our menu. Let's make it here double the size. If you hit Control, it will move it like spaces that are consistent. So you see it's moving like consistent spaces. So that way I can just set easily the same distance between all those buttons if I had more. I'm gonna call this one restart. So this one basically is gonna just restart the level. Restart, resume, restart. Yeah, one not great thing here with the best fit is that exactly, and it's that it's going to always look somehow weird because it's changing the size depending on the letters, right? So we don't want that to make it consistent. If you talk with a like a UI guy, it's gonna kill you if you do that kind of things. Okay, I was just remembering one of my best friends that he is crazy for these kind of things, and he doesn't like those messed up things. Okay, let's go back quickly on the rail. In the restart, let's go into our code. I'm just gonna show you quickly how we use things there, so you can then use it for further stuff. But of course, this was not the way to properly do it. It's just to show you one of the components that Unity has. Public void restart game. What I want to do when I restart the game is scene manager. That's another one from Unity. So if I click here, it's gonna tell me like, do you want to use Unity Engine Scene Management? Yes, I want to use that guy. This guy, it's a very powerful library that lets us manage the scenes or like the levels in the game. So it's very, very useful. And I can use a function called load scene asynchronically. I could have just used load scene, but I think it's obsolete. This one basically is loading a scene in the background, so it doesn't like stop everything. It's nice. Then I need to give which scene I want to load. I can give the index, or I can give the name. I could have give level 1, which is the name of our scene for the level 1. Or from, I'm gonna show you quickly here in Unity, file build settings. If it loads, I think you guys don't see it. There you go. Here there's a scenes in build, and you see the scene that I have here, level 1. It has the ID 0. So that's basically the ID that I was referring to on the script. In this case, because it's easy, we are just gonna use that 0. Then we can give an option. How do we want to add the scene? Load scene mode. We have two options, additive or single. Additive is gonna just add it on top of the scene that we have. So we basically will have the two scenes. Or single is just gonna replace the scene that we currently have loaded with the new one. And we, in this case, just because we're restarting, we just wanna reload the scene. And that's it. Okay, let's go back to Unity. Let's hook up that button, the restart button. So restart, we are going to use the game manager, but instead of the pause game, it's loading, we're going to say restart game, right? And just like that, that will do the trick to be able to restart the game. So let's check it out. Let's save, hit play. Boom. So just so we can actually appreciate it, I'm just gonna go here. I'm gonna get kicked ass a little bit and kill this guy. Pause, restart. The game is restarted. Okay, so of course there's a quick bug right there, and is that when we restarted the game, we didn't unpause the game basically. So a quick way to fix that will be, let me check. It's just to call like the pause game on pause, basically. Pause game false. And then just load it. We're gonna hit play. Oh, sorry. Here, play. Oop. Restart the game. Look, there I am here again. Why was that? It's because the pause game was setting the time scale to 0, and that was that's apply to the entire game. So if we don't set it back, then it's broken basically. So this one here, the time scale, we needed to set it back to 1. All right, so let me just quickly go into our game. So if we go here, let me just quickly of what we are missing. So I just wanna quickly, guys, give you some rundown. So this page is basically just an empty scene that I created with the UI elements. This font is from the Text Mesh Pro that I told you guys. Nothing special, same buttons. These ones are from Text Mesh Pro, that's why the text looks like that. But aside from that, it's a pretty simple page. You can make it, and it's the start page. Then the level page is a little bit more complex because it has like the buttons with different stages. But it's basically what I'm doing is just swapping the sprite on the sprite basically here on the image. Let's look for an image. This one. I was changing this basically for the one or the lock, the ones that are here. So if you go to the buttons, here is one that is locked, the one that is open, and then I just created quickly like 3 stars, empty, or and then on top the ones filled out, and depending on the progress, I will just save that. The credit is just the same, it's just a page, simple. And when I load the level, I'm using every time that I'm moving from one screen to the other one. In this one particularly, I'm loading another scene. So basically, I wanted to do it that way just to show you guys, because this could have been just the same scene, but I wanted to show you that the scene manager, using the load scene, I was able to load from this to the next scene, and from here I'm doing exactly the same. So from the scene level selection, if I click number 1, it's just loading the level 1. Here we pretty much did the same, right? The player, if you want to do the girl enemy, you just have to do exactly like copy this guy, make a prefab variation, which is pretty easy to do, and just change the sprites for this girl, and of course you have to change the animations on the controller to use the same sprites. The coins we covered, the health we covered, the damage we covered. This lady, for example, has 2, so I have to kill it twice to kill it. The menu, home, the resume, home basically that is the same, so we cover all of that. And here when I finish, this is just another UI element. Depending on how many coins and the life, I'm just showing how many stars you got. This is just the compilation of what you have here shown in a different UI. And just buttons for going home, restarting the level, the one that we just saw. This does exactly the same, and continue to the next level. Let me just quickly check if there was something that I missed. I believe just in the level 3, these botches basically that kills the player, right? These ones, let me see, I'm gonna die, this lady's gonna kill me. Okay, the death is just basically pausing the game, showing the scorecard from the end, but with a fail state. So let me see if I can just get up there without dying. Okay, I killed her. Okay, so if I touch this guy, I will get reset. You guys know it's basically what I'm doing here is just using one of the same level dead zones. Remember that we created down here, but I put it up, like I put it here. So whenever the player goes inside, it's just gonna get restarted. The idea was like if you move around here and then when you go here, you will be resetted to the beginning. And then I believe that covers pretty much everything. You get here, yeah, all of this. I can just restart the game. This will just restart everything. I don't know if I missed something, but if you guys feel like there was something else that I could have covered in the game, just please let me know. Send me a message or something. Connect with me on GitHub and check the videos as well. Like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. I will upload this recording session as well. I really enjoyed giving you guys these sessions. I hope everybody also had an amazing time and learned some of Unity and collaboration, how to keep your project updated there. And as well, I'm gonna just keep the project up there so for you guys to check. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope some of you guys will share with me the project that you made, if you were able to go further, apply some of the other animations that this guy has, because it has like a jump attack, it has the run, and you guys are pretty much set to use all of those right away. Same for the enemy, and there's tons of new things that you can use. So I hope everybody enjoyed this and it was very good. I will upload the videos, and as well I will like complete this page with all the script that we just created today, with explanation of each of those, so you guys can like go back and reference it here. Once again, thank you so much, New Media Manitoba, for the partnership on this online course. You made it possible and I'm very grateful for that. If you have any questions, remember, just contact me. I will be pleased to help you. All right, see you guys on the next episode or the next course.